greatest show in fantasy football history, hosted by the incomparable Scott Connor and the one and only Ray GQ, I present to you Destination Chill, where football and fantasy collide.
GEGP, good evening, good people. Welcome back. I am excited. It is February 14th, Valentine's Day, so appreciate y'all giving us a little bit of your time on this special day. But I just have to say this, man. Like, we've been gone for a little bit. Everybody knows we were down at the Senior Bowl, and it was our first time meeting, Scott. And, bro, I'm just telling y'all out there, you're a good dude, man. You're a hard worker. And I think that the time that we were away from the show and we got to spend together, I think that has made us better friends, better co-hosts, colleagues, business partners, man. You're my dog. I just want to say that we've been gone, but before we get started, like, you're my dog. I appreciate you, man. Like, from the bottom of my heart, you're a real one, man. I just wanted to say that, Scott. It was good to meet you finally.
Yeah, man. Right back at you. It was, it's amazing some of the ideas that you come up with when you're actually in person. I mean, the amount of conversations we had where it was like, hey, that would be awesome to put together. Or we're just sitting there. I remember there was one time we were just literally sitting there in the living room and we're like, that could be a show. That could be an entire thing that we could put together. Now, as content creators, how many of those things actually make it to a show or here? That's a different story. But yeah, it was awesome. It was an awesome time. First class event, first class treatment from old GQ here. We had an awesome place to hang, and it was just awesome. So I'm excited for it next year. The one thing I will say is it was an experience that I didn't know what to think about. I didn't know what to expect. But it's amazing how, just for shout out to everybody out there, whether you're a content creator, whether it's in your professional life or your career, but go out there and try stuff, right? This was outside of my comfort zone. Actually on the field, interviewing players. Like, I'm Mr. Just stay behind the scenes and crunch data, talk in the Discord. And I'm not like I'm shy of getting on camera and talking, obviously, but this was a new thing for me. So being able to do it, the amount of confidence I'll have next year of like rehearsing, man, I'm going to be even better next year. Like, just think about that. Just try things. And then boom, you come back. Then if you love it, you'll continue to want to work at it. So awesome opportunity. Recommend everybody, if you can make it, go out there. But just an awesome time meeting you, and looking forward to what's to come. So appreciate the words. Right back at you.
And the point of saying that is, as we're discussing stuff out there, everything that we're talking about is honestly for y'all. Everybody that's watching, everybody that's subscribed to the service, that goes to the website, that uses our tools, that like, we're figuring out, we're sitting there strategizing ways to explain things better. Man, Scott, how can we do a better job at conveying this message to put out like literally better content for y'all? Like, that's all we're talking about. And one of the things that we have been big proponents of at Destination Devy, you see it on the bottom of the screen here, is the War Tool, and using that to roster construct. And we started a series, War Games, but we've taken a couple of weeks off. And during that time, Scott, we've kind of reflected on, how we want to present that data, some things on the back end, and just the way that we come across, right? So, like, thinking about that, what should we look forward to when we come back to this? Because we're going to do another one about quarterbacks real soon. There's a lot of people out there saying they're tired of this. This stuff is not relevant. Like, it doesn't work in football. What should people expect when we come back?
Yeah, I mean, the reason just to be transparent with everybody, one of the reasons we took the time away is we did our first show. We had fun doing it. We made a lot of great points, but then I think we both kind of reflected and went, is this exactly how we want the rest of the series to go? Because we rehearsed, how we wanted it to flow, how we wanted to talk about each position and different formats and that kind of stuff. And then I think we were like, you know what? There's more to this. And I have to give a shout out to our community, our Discord members, our subscribers, even just random people that pick up the show, watch the show, have follow-up questions. There's enough times where you get asked something and then you start to respond or you start to explain it and you go, wait a second. would that actually make sense to everybody if we just put it out there in a 45-minute show? So I think we both kind of pulled back, and without explicitly saying, Ray, I wasn't ready, you weren't ready to do it. I don't think we were ready to go do another 8-part series, continuing what we were doing. We needed to dive back into the tool, think about more from the consumer side, the user side, the random player that just signs up for Destination Devy or joins on the YouTube page or joins the website. What are they questioning? What are they asking? Made some changes to the tool. Anybody that has it has noticed that the format looks a little bit different. But I think what we're going to be able to highlight is how to use it still, how anybody can use it regardless of your format. So we're not just talking through WAR, the positions. We're also going to highlight why it's important, why it has a place, why we are solving for WAR in your fantasy football league and not WAR for the NFL. A couple people have said, well, WAR in the NFL, it's not been a proven thing like it is in baseball. That's what we're not trying to prove that. So we're going to highlight some of the things that WAR can't tell you. Hell, I think half the series is going to be about where its limitations are. And you didn't go into this building a tool to then highlight what it's not going to help you with. But I think that is absolutely mandatory to the discussions to say, all right, there's limitations here. And here's where you need to go to maybe fill in those gaps. So we're going to talk more about some of the things that you can't do with WAR, but also why it's important, why it helps, and why I think it's even more important now in a game where there's a data overload. There's not an information edge anywhere. It's more about how can I get around some of the edges that still exist. And there's just straight up people that don't really want to dive into something like this. So you're going to see a new approach from you and I, not just how we would approach leagues or how we would tell others to approach leagues, but I think we've kind of realized some of the things that you don't want to do with WAR, some of the assumptions that you don't want to make, some of the things that we were just concluding, oh, that must be true because that graph or that chart says is true. But then you dive into it a little bit more, and I'll just leave you with this. We play largely a week-to-week game. Fantasy, redraft, dynasty, whatever it is. We are playing a week-to-week game. You go into your league, it is made up of head-to-head matchups. It is made up of, even if it's all play, it's a week-to-week game. You're getting credited usually with a win or a loss. Yet we look at things like WAR and we go, well, let's just look at the entire 2023 season. There's a disconnect there. So we're going to highlight some of those things that you may not have picked up. And that's a big thing you and I have realized over the last month or so, that it's still a week-to-week game. We're being judged on a week-to-week game. Results and money is driven by week-to-week performances. Yet we're looking at snapshots of whole seasons. So there you go.
Yeah, I'm excited. We're excited to get back to doing that with y'all. But Scott, I told people, I told the Twitterverse or X, whatever you call it, I said, I'm going to make you do your favorite thing. For those of y'all that follow Scott, y'all know he is not big on giving player analysis. It's not his forte. That's why he said the Senior Bowl was a little bit out of his comfort zone. But Scott, there are some players right now in the NFL or about to be in the NFL generating big buzz. And I want to know what the chat thinks about these cats, but I want to know what you think about this player, and you can take this whatever direction that you want to go. Value, the player himself. But I mean, there's been no player hotter than this guy right here, man. J.J. McCarthy, Scott. We're in 24, rookie draft season. Super Bowl is over. Chiefs got it done. We're on the rookies now. This is what it's about in Dynasty. And right now, you got people saying QB1, QB2. You know? J.J. McCarthy. Just talk about him, man.
Well, I think there's one thing that's probably starting to become true to everybody, even if you don't want to admit it. He's going to get the capital. You've said it. There's been too many people that have big voices in the industry that are saying he's going to get the capital. In fact, I really don't know what could change between now and then to say he doesn't get the capital. Could he go to the combine and just completely blow everybody away with? No, there's nothing really that's going to happen.
Yes.
When I say blow everybody away, I mean turn all the teams off. But here's the thing. He's a quarterback. Quarterbacks can be an acquired taste, right? Some teams may go, I don't feel comfortable with this guy. Other teams may go, Okay, I'm fine with him. We've seen that with QBs where they get nitpicked when they go to something like the combine. They start interviewing with teams. Then they have pro days. They meet with more teams. So you start seeing things that come out on quarterbacks. Quarterback's the most dissected position when it comes to the draft. This guy didn't interview well. He didn't answer questions right about reading defenses or whatever it is.
Yeah.
There's always stuff out there. But there's too many voices saying he's going to get the capital. And there's a lot of teams that could use a quarterback, whether it's to start right away or it's to sit for half a year. So I think even if you don't like him, even if you're going to go, he didn't produce in college, or because you've questioned him. Why didn't he throw when he was in college, right?
It is the $1 million question. I've asked multiple people, was it the fact that he could not do it, therefore Michigan didn't ask him to do it, or he just didn't need to because they had one of the best offensive lines, the best defense, the best damn running back the past 2 years, and they just said we don't need to win that way. I mean, it's the $1 million question, man. But it feels like his stock, there's nothing that's going to happen to tank it at this point. If anything, it's going to go up. Like, I don't think it's unrealistic that he's picked ahead of Drake May. And if I take the fantasy goggles off, like, could I see him going ahead of Jayden Daniels? Yeah, I can. I can't see him over Caleb Williams personally, but that's the trajectory that he's on right now, man.
But the fact that we went from, I'm not sure if he's going to declare a month ago, to he's already in discussion to be the QB2, like there, you can't deny whether you agree with it or not. You're not running the NFL team, but there's going to be a team that drafts him. There's going to be a team that drafts him high. We've started to talk about on Trades in 5 that there's a new, hate to say it, but there is a new tier break that probably has to be expanded a pick or so, wherever it was for you, 106, 107, 108, but he's got to be in the mix just from a pure asset standpoint. So I'm intrigued. I want to see where he lands. I want to see what coordinators he's linked up with.
I'm not going to let you. I'm not going to let you. I'm going to make this harder for you. You can't see where he lands. Are you making that selection right now, absent landing spot? If you've got to make the pick.
Yes.
You'd be comfortable with that.
He's a top 8 pick in Superflex Dynasty leagues.
Is he more
I'm
comfortable?
not going to pick him 106. I'm not going to pick. But he's gotten to that point where I'm comfortable saying he's in that second tier of players, whoever that is for you, whether it's 2 in the first tier, 3 in the first tier, 4 in the first tier, whatever. He's
Scott,
in
I've
the
got a
second
spot
tier.
to make you consider him at 103, 104. I got a spot.
Right. I know what it is.
What is it? Atlanta?
I was thinking Minnesota, but you could say Atlanta as well.
Atlanta at 8. Atlanta takes him at 8.
I mean, that's better capital than you may even see from Drake May or Jayden Daniels. Could be he goes ahead of one of those, or if he gets picked ahead of one of those.
Let's say hypothetically, Caleb went first. May went to the Commanders. Jayden went to the Patriots. J.J. McCarthy gets selected 8 by Atlanta. Jayden in New England.
I could do it.
In Washington.
I could justify. I could justify.
You could.
The only tiebreak.
Oh, Zach Robinson.
Only tiebreak.
He's going to be great with him. You talk yourself into it.
No, the only tiebreak or caveat I will say to this is you talk about ADV all the time. I do think there's something about somebody like Jayden Daniels that's always going to have some of that ADV and is almost going to have the ability to shine outside of the situation. There's going to be somebody that goes, I'm just chasing the rushing quarterback. That's it. Now, you tell me Drake May goes to the Patriots? I think Drake May is the one where if he gets one of those spots that people don't like, let's say he goes 3 to New England and JJ goes 8 to Atlanta. I easily could see people saying I'm switching those two without even hesitation. Just because it's close enough. And May was the guy that I think people have kind of not soured on, but it's almost unfair because he didn't live up to he's a clear-cut 102 in the NFL draft. So it's almost like we're punishing him just a little bit. And if he goes to New England, people are just going to look at Who's the OC? Who's the weapons
Who is
versus
the OC?
McCarthy in Atlanta?
I mean,
They
it's
just
not
hired somebody.
McAdoo, is it? Is it McAdoo?
No, they just hired somebody. Somebody in the
Oh,
chat
Van
said they
Pelt.
just
Van
hired an
Pelt.
OC. Van Pelt,
Was
that's
it Van
from the
Pelt?
Browns.
It was Van Pelt. Yeah.
But I can see it. I could see people going, all right, I'm taking JJ over Drake May. Because some of the same things that both offer are similar, right? Both can run a little bit. Like you can squint and say, I'd prefer the landing spot because the draft capital is close enough. So he's there. I'm not going to go any further than that. I think he's a top 8 pick, could jump 5 or 6. But that compared to where a month ago, if I would have told you he's in the potential elite tier before he declared for the NFL draft, before he even won the Natty,
Yeah, I'd
you'd
say
have been
you're
like,
crazy.
you're insane. I remember the night
I'd
of the
say
Natty, the day of the Natty, we were in the voice chat. We were having the conversation of, is there a chance that Michael Penix gets past Atlanta? You remember that conversation?
Yes.
And if I would have said, no, JJ McCarthy's going to blow past Michael Penix and get drafted in the top 10, you would have been like, okay, that's a hot take. And here we are. It's just crazy how fast things can change. And not a lot happened other than Penix lost, JJ won, and here we are.
And you're clear cut JJ over Nick's Penix, even if they got. I'm saying, because people are saying, dude, I'm seeing Penix and Bo Nix are still being mocked 12 to the Broncos, 13 to the Vikings.
Come on. I mean, I just did our best ball mock on Destination Dynasty this week, and
good.
I intentionally buried
people
the quarterbacks,
the
non-first round quarterbacks.
People have to hear this, man, because I used to like doing rookie drafts before the NFL drafts. I'm good on that now, man. Because that landing spot and that capital, that stuff matters. Like, you could think it doesn't matter, it matters. So I don't think Knicks is going to get the capital. I keep seeing him in the first round of mocks. I don't know, Scott, but if you're Denver, can you go into this season without Russell Wilson with Jared Stidham at quarterback? Even if we don't like Knicks, people didn't like Will Levis either, and now people are kind of talking themselves, oh, maybe with Callahan this could work. Denver can't go into the season with Stidham, can they?
I mean, they can. The Raiders can go into the season with O'Connell.
Washington They've got Jimmy Garoppolo. They've got Jimmy Garoppolo there. They got Garoppolo there. They've got Brissett, right?
I'm just saying, any team could go whatever, and we could be left holding the bag going, man, this would be a great spot for this quarterback to go. And instead, Michael Penix goes somewhere where, it's like a Hendon Hooker situation last year, right?
Yeah.
People weren't necessarily super excited when he went to the Lions. He wasn't starting week 1. Now he had the torn ACL, so there was an excuse of, well, he's not going to play week 1 or not going to play.
But he wasn't playing over Jared Goff.
Well, but here's the thing. The best case scenario was Jared Goff is so bad that Hendon Hooker might get a shot, right? And then, of course, if you look at the Lions, you're going, I'm not really wanting to bet that Jared Goff's going to be so bad that they give Hendon Hooker a shot, especially when he's going to miss a season. So I'm not saying I can't be in on Knicks, Penix, and even Rattler. And, man, it sounds like for all the NFL stuff I listen to, a lot of people like Rattler over Knicks and Penix. And people just can't accept to put him in that conversation. But for me, best ball especially, if they're not first-round picks, probably not going to see me taking a bunch of them. Because now I'm subject to, well, hopefully he gets in there. Now, there's landing spots where you could say, all right, one of those guys does go to Denver, right? One of those guys does go to this spot or that spot.
Right.
Michael Penix goes to Minnesota in round 2. You're not going to be out, but that's
no, you're not going to be out.
You're not out because of the landing spot, right?
But you hope you don't have to make that pick though. You hope you're not in the position where you have to take Michael Penix.
Well, and here's the thing: if Michael Penix goes to Minnesota,
people like him, man.
Goes to Denver, he will get pushed up in a range where now I'm going to be uncomfortable making the pick there anyway. It's not like I'm going to get this really nice value on that Penix,
People think he's plug and play Kirk Cousins. Just drop him in Minnesota and he'll be able to just replicate Kirk Cousins out the gate. That's how a lot of these I'm seeing it, man. You've seen it too. Just he's right out the gate. Put him in Minnesota and maybe maybe people will say, look at CJ Stroud. Nobody thought Stroud would do that. But the reality is I'm not banking on that happening every damn year, you know?
Nope.
And
Best
Penix
case
isn't even
scenario with those guys
Penix isn't even Stroud out of college. But look up all the numbers, man. The advanced analytics is all CJ Stroud. Like, they're not even close.
So how do you play those guys if you do end up with a share or two of them? Are they because the capital will tell you there's no longevity, but also at the same time, there's a window for guys like Levis. There was a window for Sam Howell. There was a window for Desmond Ridder. So there's going to be a probable window for those guys. But what for you, Ray? What is the breaking point? Is it just you have to see them? You have to see it for you to make the decision, or is it, man, Spencer Rattler went in the second round. He went to Denver. I like the spot. He's going to get opportunity, but what is it?
I'm going to be real. I'm going to be real. People can say, oh, you just take the value. But when you're really on that clock and that quarterback that you already kind of didn't like goes to a spot that you really don't like, and it's a lot harder to just be like, oh, I'll just take him. You know what I mean? You know, we kind of did that with the Mac Jones year. Like, I'm so happy to get him at the 110, 111. And to a degree you were, but the real answer to that, Scott, is I try not to even pick back there. Like, honestly, you're in leagues with me. How many even first do I have? Like, I just try not to pick back there. It's easy for me to sit here and say, take the value, but I don't know, man. And in a class like this, I think in today's Dynasty game, I can get just as much value for some receiver as I can a quarterback that nobody likes.
So let's say you do have one, though. You have a couple shares of those guys. They're second-round picks. They get the opportunity. So you've already crossed a couple of the bridges that you weren't sure you were going to be able to pass.
Mm-hmm.
Then what?
Depends on what type of quarterback it is. Depends on the archetype of quarterback. That's the answer. Because with Jalen Hurts, and you know it's true, I said, I'm not selling him. I said, don't do it. When people were, I'm selling, I'm like, not this guy. Because it's not going to take much for people to buy into the dual threat, high rush. That's the Dynasty game. If it's a player like Will Levis that people already didn't like and he's got some value and you've got a moment to move him, you probably need to trade him. Like, if there's any because the moment Will Levis struggles, I knew he sucked. It's just Will Levis. It craters, man. So it depends on the type, like if it were Kyle Trask, I'm trying to move Kyle Trask. You know? If it were, I'm just saying, I'm putting myself in that mind frame. If it were Kellen Mond, if he actually were good, because they were in the same class and they were drafted damn near back to back, people would have a higher propensity to keep the guy that can run around in fantasy because he's going to score more points. So it depends on the type of quarterback it is, man.
Then maybe we'll leave it with this analysis. A lot of people love Michael Penix. Some people like Bo Nix, and a lot of people dislike Spencer Rattler. Then you could almost leave it at that, right? Michael Penix, if he gets opportunity, there's going to be a cult following out there.
Absolutely.
Spencer Rattler, he gets opportunity. He should have never gotten the opportunity. So, I mean, is it crazy to analyze those three quarterbacks through those lenses of, Penix could be the Jalen Hurts where, man, if he's in the right spot, forget about the draft capital. Kind of similar to how people viewed Sam Howell, right? Man, Sam Howell should have never gone in the fifth.
Never
just
been
look at his profile.
Yep.
Versus Desmond Ridder takes over. I didn't like him to begin with, so I'll just sell him. You know what I mean? But the opportunity was present for both, and how did you react? So maybe that speaks to the likability score of QBs.
Did Desmond Ridder ever hit first-round trade value? Because I know Sam Howell was getting flipped for firsts. I don't think Desmond Ridder ever got that high.
No, and I think part of it was how performed on a higher end basis during the season.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the narratives during the year. Man, Sam Howell is earning this job in the future.
That's true.
He's a QB1.
That's true.
That's when the price elevated. But
they found the guy.
I think it comes down to
I might have said that on Wake Up. They found the guy, at least for a year. Now you're like...
Ray had his Sam Howell phase where he was the future, and now it's like, yeah, Sam Howell is an afterthought, you know?
It was about a solid 3 weeks. But I pivot, baby. I've got no problem pivoting, man. Oh.
What's the chat want us to pivot to?
What else we got?
No more JJ McCarthy or second round QB talk.
What else we got, man? Scott was kicking my ass in pool in Mobile, too. I'm still salty about that. I didn't get one. Real quick, would you put what? Brag.
I never lost. I believe I went 19-0 between JV, J Rich, and you. Never lost.
All right. Let's see what the chat wants. Real quick, answer this one, Scott. Over under quarterbacks in the first round, 4.5.
Under. I think it's 4. I don't think any of those other ones we mentioned sneaks into the first because, real quick, I don't think the 5th-year option has as much value as it did before just because what have you always said? You know when you got the guy, right? You don't need that 5th-year option to say, man, let me ride him out one more year on that cheap deal before I want to extend it. So I don't think they don't value that anymore.
It's a good question right here, man, from Open 24 Hours. Speak quick because I want to get through a couple of these, Scott. Any hope for the RBs? Which are your favorites? Is there any hope for the RBs? I kind of asked you this question the other day. That is the pendulum going to swing so far in the fade running back, direction that there creates some value on the other side? So is there any hope for the RBs? Which are your favorites?
In context, I would say there's plenty of hope for the RB class. Part of it is nobody thinks the RB class is any good. So I'm immediately going to look at it through a lens of, all right, maybe I should re-examine some of those takes. Then you combine that with a dynasty market that absolutely hates the position. I'm intrigued. Now, if you told me there's never a running back that has a top 5 season out of this class, I wouldn't be shocked at that.
You wouldn't be shocked. No.
But no, I wouldn't be shocked at all. But you could say that about a lot of classes. Yeah. You could say that about the Josh Jacobs, David Montgomery class. Man, I don't know if there'll be a top 5 running back. And Josh Jacobs went in the first round. You could have said that about the running back class a couple years ago. Breece Hall, Ken Walker. I mean, sure, we thought Breece was great, but if you told me he would never have a top 5 season, I'd be like, that could be because of injury or whatnot. Right. So I'm intrigued. I mean, I got my guys. I know you got some guys in here, but I like the fact that everybody basically says this is a bad class. There's going to be 2 or 3 running backs that you pick back and you go, that was a great pick, taking a couple shots on that. Marshawn Lloyd, Jonathan Brooks because of the injury. I mean, some of the smaller school guys, Dylan Lobb, Isaiah Davis, and then, the guys we saw in Mobile, right? I mean, I'm very happy to take some shots at Ray Davis, Cody Schrader. Will Shipley wasn't there, but that's another one. I mean, there's some intriguing names, but in terms of
Davis, did you enjoy that interview with your boy?
Yeah, and what didn't get captured was the backstory of us literally having to chase him. And you'd think me, and I did not wear my Kentucky gear. I didn't dress like this in Mobile because that's a little creepy. Yeah. But Jay Rich was like, man, we got to get Ray Davis. Just had to get him. So we're like breaking all the rules, going past the lines where you're not allowed to go, damn near chasing him down into the tunnel.
The tunnel.
Hey, Ray, man. Ray, you got 60 seconds. And of course, because he's a good dude, he stops, turns around, comes back, does that interview. But yeah, if it would have been more crowded or they would have actually enforced the rules, we would have never got that. So that was good. But
I completely interrupted you, but continue.
No, I mean, to your point, those are the names. I just got back from the Louisville KFFSC drafts this weekend. And of course, that's against a different crowd than what we typically play against in Dynasty. But here I am sitting here drafting these rookie running backs, and people are going, who? Who is that? Dylan Lobb? Who's that? Cody Schrader? Who is he? I'm like, and it's a different world, but there's great value in you're drafting these rookie RBs. And I don't even care if they're good, right? The thing we like about running backs that go late is they either get the role or they don't. It's a quick outcome. You know what I mean? That's why you draft running backs late in rookie drafts, because you're going to know pretty quickly. DeJuan Edwards, if he doesn't make the roster, he probably shouldn't be on your dynasty roster, even if you liked him as a draft prospect. So I think there's a lot of strategic shots you can take, and those are some of the names. But I like the class because it's cheap. You're going to be able to get them all. I mean, where's the first running back go off the board in a super flex draft, Ray? First one.
205.
202. 204,
202,
something like that.
202 to 205 in that range. Okay. I was just on the show with Theo Grimminger today, and I like this class. You know why? because I guarantee all the NFL sees is fresh young bodies that can eat innings, and they're going to be cheap. This is great. You know what I mean? Like, I can get somebody to come in and eat innings that I only have to pay a $4 million contract for. I don't need to go buy Josh Jacobs because I can get Audric Estime in the 6th round to just come in and absorb carries. Like, I guarantee you, there's going to be opportunity for these players, man. There's going to be some opportunity. And like you said, it costs you nothing. So I'm into this class, especially when I'm paying 302 prices and I can get a starting running back. You know, I like it. I like it, man. But this question is really good, man. I want to pivot to this one because something we've talked about a little bit in passing, and just understand where we are in the times when I read this. Understand. I'm going to read this. Hey, guys, I've been wondering. Jefferson has been the wide receiver 1 for a couple of years, but is starting to get up there in age. Do you think the next wide receiver 1 is in the league yet? Who's most likely to take that spot? We talked about this the other day, man. Like, you start to look, and it's like, damn, Jefferson has been in the league X number of years. People are starting to say this. You know, A.J. Brown, I'm seeing more people. Oh, man, the injuries, he's older. It's a good question because for the first time in a long time, there was a window to buy Justin Jefferson this year, you know? And that really hasn't existed. He's unobtainable. Like, you just can't pay enough to get that asset. But for a small moment of time this year, you could have bought Justin. People were selling Jefferson, man, trying to chase the points. CeeDee Lamb's emergence, other guys. People were willing to sell him. Just what are your thoughts on him, man? And just that position. And when it happens, how much does Marvin Harrison really have to do this year to be the wide receiver 1 next year? Like, when it happens, it doesn't mean Jefferson's any worse, but the value is not the same anymore. So this is interesting, man. Talk about it.
It's actually an interesting question because Marv is already steamed up into the top 4, top 5. We already know that. I think I saw yesterday where he's wide receiver 4, which is the highest that we've ever had a prospect come into the league. The only one that rivals it was Bijan last year. And there is a fair argument to say, okay, Marvin Harrison, if he's wide receiver 4 already, just to get your hands on him. And we're not talking about rookie drafts. If you're getting him at your 101, that's a different story. People are taking him in the first 8 picks of a start.
Second round underdog pick, man. Second round pick in underdog drafts. Wide receiver 4 off the board.
Yep. Now, what does he have to do to be preferred over Justin Jefferson in the community? He doesn't have to outperform Justin Jefferson. He has to just show that he belongs in that tier, and then people will make the rookie mistake that they do with a lot of players. Well, he only can get better from here, right? Puts up 1,400 yards and 10 touchdowns. Let's just say he has Jamar Chase's rookie year.
Puka.
Well, Puka's, yeah. If he has either one of those guys, he has any Jefferson, Chase, Puka's rookie year, puts up those numbers. He's going to be the guy that just is better. Just is better. You know what I mean? He can only get 20% better. But that's a slam dunk. Let's say he just puts up Chris Olave's rookie year. Drake London's rookie year. Because maybe his landing spot limits him a little bit. We don't know. But then what? So that I think that's the question is, where is it? If he did that, if he does what Drake London did as a rookie, he's not going to be the wide receiver 1 next year in Dynasty. I can almost guarantee that. But he doesn't need to put up Puka or Jamar Chase's rookie year.
Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson,
it wasn't great, but he got steamed up to wide receiver 4.
That's where you got to apply some context. Garrett Wilson got steamed up for wide receiver 4 because he did what he did in what our opinions, and I say our, meaning just the masses, Ray, he did it despite his team, right? He did so amazing, and I think this is a lesson we can learn. Garrett Wilson was so amazing with Joe Flacco and Zach Wilson and Mike White at QB. Imagine what he's going to do with Aaron Rodgers. So immediately and you were guilty of it, man. Garrett Wilson is he's going to be the next guy that can take the crown. The point is, though, if Marv goes to a place where people don't already love, but he puts up Garrett Wilson's numbers, the excuse is going to be, we'll wait until the situation gets better. But how do we know the situation gets better? What if it just kind of flatlines for 2 more years? So it's a dangerous game, but back to the original point, I mean, come on. Jefferson's going to be 25 in June.
I'm just telling you what people are saying. I'm just telling you. And he doesn't have a quarterback.
That's the other factor. That's going to maybe limit how people view him over the next year. I don't buy any of the stuff with, you saw the report the other day, man, he's really pushing for Cousins, which is turned into, what if he gets traded, Ray? What if he's kind of like low-key forcing his way out of Minnesota if they don't draft, or they don't have Kirk Cousins and they draft J.J. McCarthy, or they bring in insert QB name. But we don't know any of that is happening. But the narrative out there is, man, what if he stays in Minnesota? And what if they draft J.J. McCarthy? The same J.J. McCarthy that people were shit on, is he going to support an 1,800-yard Justin Jefferson? Off the rip, Ray, what do you think? Would you bet on that?
Absolutely not. And that's no shade to J.J. McCarthy, but that's insane to expect that.
Yeah, but that's what's
playing. But they don't
into
just have
this,
Jefferson. They got Addison.
That's the point. There are narratives where you can say he may not have the staying power as wide receiver 1, even if you think he's the best receiver. I posted the WAR per game numbers the other day. I don't know if you saw them.
I did.
Between CD, Jamar, Amon-Ra, and Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
You could see a clear tier between the 4. There was J-Jets and then everybody else. Not a ton, but enough to where you'd say, all right, he's probably a little bit better than those other 3. And now the situation has changed. So you kind of got to wonder, is that going to impact how people view him? I don't know. I'm curious what the crowd thinks. What does Marv have to do to surpass him? Because it's not have Jefferson or Puka or Jamar Chase's rookie year. But what does he have to do to just flat out be the wide receiver 1 in Dynasty? What's the threshold?
I think it's a combination of, if he lands in Arizona with Kyler Murray, the buck stops there. Now, there might be a team that trades up inside of there, but let's just say that's where he lands. And he goes out there year 1 and has, an 80-catch, 1,100-yard season in his rookie year with, tethered to Kyler, and McBride is still good too. He'll be the one at that. At that point, he's Larry Fitzgerald 2.0. That's how, and that's his game. It's going to just play out for him that way. I don't think he has to smash. I think what you said, if he's just in the conversation, he'll get pumped up next year. Because it's not just him. My question to you is, if Kirk Cousins doesn't end up in Minnesota, who's there to support those guys? Who's realistically available? I'm just throwing names out there. Do they bring in Flacco? If they think they're a playoff team, we don't talk about that, but if Joe wanted to play, would they say, look, man, we need you for the first 8 weeks or whatever, however long Kurt's, whomever it is. Who can go there if Cousins isn't there? Who's there?
I'm just speculating, and if there's any Vikings experts or fans in the crowd, chime in. I'm speculating that just the vibe that I get is that they've been seeking a cheaper alternative option at QB for far before they knew Kirk Cousins, A, tore his Achilles, but B, was going to hit free agency. Just kind of has a vibe of they're seeking, they want to find the successor, but they're not a team that's going to go, all right, we're not getting Kirk Cousins, so let's go pay Russell Wilson, or you know what I mean? It's good.
I'm with you.
If they're getting rid of Cousins, it's not going to be a expensive, lesser version of a Kirk Cousins. If that makes sense.
Bad.
It's going to
I'm messing up stuff. Hold on, Scott. I'm messing up stuff. All right, keep going.
No, I think if it's not Kirk Cousins, it's going to be a totally different route. It's going to be trying to go the Brock Purdy route, the Sam Howell route,
Right.
maybe higher draft capital, but it's not going to be, okay, we didn't get Cousins, so we settled for a lesser version of Cousins. We went out and paid Baker Mayfield. You know what I
Right, they're
mean?
not
It's
doing
going to
that.
be a
No.
cheap QB route. No matter who it is. If it's Drake May, it's going to be hard to justify even Justin Jefferson putting up those numbers that I mentioned. You know what I mean? Like but the odds that it's Drake May or one of the top 3-4 QBs in this draft is also low.
It very well could be JJ McCarthy there, right? And while a lot of people will say nobody thought CJ Stroud was going to be as good as he was, I understand that, but I would just say the likelihood of that happening for that player, and that has nothing to do with JJ's long-term talent, I just don't think it's the same. I don't think you can compare those two collegiate passers to one another, based on what they did in college. And that's not the sad reality in all of this is none of this is JJ McCarthy's fault. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he had the opportunity and then failed, but everyone still likes him. Like, they just never threw the ball. Like, people just haven't seen it. And it always felt like Michigan, I don't want to say won in spite of, but it never felt like he was the reason why they won. It was always build up to be Corum or the defense. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do, because as good as Jefferson and Addison are, like, you need the quarterback, man, to get you the damn ball. Like, you need that. And if they're not going to be efficient, then you need to be like in a spot like Devontae Adams, where they'll just throw it. Aiden O'Connell will just throw it to him 17 times. It doesn't even matter. It's Devontae Adams. I'm Aiden O'Connell. You got mad last week. I'm not going through it this week. You're getting 20 targets. So it's going to be interesting how that situation plays out, man. And no one's really talking about that spot.
Well, two things, because I see in the chat, would Kirk Cousins take a team-friendly deal? I don't know Kirk Cousins. I think he probably would be fine going back to Minnesota, but we've also seen him now twice. He hasn't settled for a deal. He's pushed for a fully guaranteed, maybe slightly below market deal, but there's no reason to think he's going to come crawling back to Minnesota. So they're going to have to pay him. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be $35 million was what mentioned in the chat. That would be interesting. I would guess he's probably pushing for more. You really think he's going to take $10 million less than Derek Carr and Daniel Jones? $5 million less AAV than Daniel Jones? And there was a name in there that I'm not going to bring up. We're not going to take it any further, but I would be intrigued. Mac Jones. Just throwing it out there.
I don't think that's crazy. I don't think it's crazy. We're not going to go any further than that. I don't think it's crazy, though.
You could see it, right, though?
Crazy.
You could squint and you could see it where, could Mac Jones support weapons, huh? I don't know. That one would intrigue me, though. That is a guy you and I both are still, out of the corner of our eyes, intrigued on.
Yes.
Is Mac Jones. He's going to get another chance. It may be
He's going to.
It might be a shitty chance with a bad situation, and he's thrown in there for 6 games, and you're going, he's awful. And then if he does that, then he may never get another real chance, but he's gonna get another shot.
Can I ask you? We're already in the mud at this point. It's already gotten dirty. You've invoked the name Mac Jones, so we're here. So we're just gonna talk about it. Happy Valentine's Day. Does he get any of the Bill Belichick, the game had passed him by? Now that he's gone, now that Bill's gone, and you reflect on just what's happened, right? Mac Jones had a very respectable rookie season. I'm not even counting the Pro Bowl stuff. That's Gardner Minshew was a Pro Bowler, but he had a very respectable rookie season. And then in his second year, they give him Matt Patricia and it's a train wreck. And then this year it's Bill O'Brien and it's a mess. And then Bill Belichick leaves, and you hear players talk about how just bad it was there towards the end. Does he get any of that? Does he get any of the who would have really thrived in that situation? Look what they did to Cam Newton. Like, I'm just asking, does he get any of that?
I think
he doesn't. The answer is no, but the answer is no.
He doesn't, but I think he would, outside of some of the things, even know if they're true or not. But there's negative stuff that has come out about Mac Jones too, about his character, about how good of a teammate he is. Like, that's going to sour whether we believe it or not.
Ooh.
You better bet there's people out there that have read that have heard it from somebody in the league about, okay, maybe this guy isn't just a pure victim of the Patriots the last 2 years. Maybe there's something else where maybe we'll bring him in, but we don't quite trust him. Aren't there a little bit of like some Carson Wentz vibes with Mac Jones of, I'm not even wanting to bring him in just because we're not sure?
I think he's even below Wentz, because at least Wentz gave us some elite fantasy outputs at times. Like, he's even below Wentz because he hasn't really done anything, you know? And I do think some of the outside stuff that we've heard is definitely, like, he needs a full rehab job. And the crazy thing is he's going to get another job. But I saw another name in there. Somebody said Jake Browning. Think Jake Browning would be somebody that O'Connell can take? And I don't know. I'm trying to think of situations to where we would talk ourselves into feeling good about those weapons still. And I don't even really count TJ Hawkinson in the picture, because everything that I'm hearing, he's probably likely like pup list. I don't know. They're just like, he's probably not ready right away, and he's probably not going to be TJ Hawkinson right away. So I'm just trying to talk myself into somebody, and Kevin O'Connell. Well, wasn't Browning there, and then they let him go?
I was going to say, well, Browning, so he's an exclusive rights free agent, so 100% he's back in Cincy. But yes, he was cut by the Vikings at the end of 2021. Yeah, he was cut by him. End of camp. Because when they played the Vikings, he put that out there that, like, they gave up on me.
You're right. You're right.
And Nick Mullins was starting, so it literally could have been him starting on the other side, but they gave up on him. But yeah, people mentioned Minshew. There's a lot of names out there that any of them I'd be interested if they went there. Drew Lock was mentioned. Taylor Heineke I see in the chat. I mean, all these guys, but, Mac Jones would be the one where I'd be like, all right, now we're ready to go. But that is, to me, Ray, the most fascinating situation, because you have this fan base that half of them are like, we don't want Kirk Cousins. We need somebody better. But then you start throwing out names like Drew Lock or Mac Jones, and they're going, oh, man, can we get Kirk back? You know what I mean? Like, it feels like that situation is going to drive what maybe happens.
Russell Wilson?
It's going to be
Russ?
Doesn't that feel like you're just trying to chase a different Kirk Cousins, though? Doesn't it? Maybe a little cheaper, but like you're going down there's no benefit from a development or salary.
I'd rather Kirk Cousins over Russ.
I agree, but I'm saying there's no real benefit of not paying Kirk Cousins and then paying $10 million less for Russell Wilson. Do you know what I mean?
I get you.
Feels like if they don't go to Cousins, it is to reboot the system on a cheap rookie contract. Yes, a developmental rookie that I don't have to pay. Yes, like Fields. I see Fields.
And they bring in Sam Darnold to start the 8 customary starts. Because Sam Darnold, everyone knows he's a backup. He's good enough to start a few games because everybody knows he's getting replaced. Like Sam Darnold would actually make some sense, right? They go bring Sam Darnold in on a cheap contract, draft J.J. McCarthy, let Darnold start those first, because he could start 4 or 5 games and look half decent, but it's coming. So week 6 or whatever, right after the bye, J.J. McCarthy takes over. Darnold wouldn't even have a problem with it.
I'm laughing in the chat because if the Bears traded Fields to the Vikings, that would be an indictment on Fields, wouldn't it? Here you go, Minnesota. You can have Fields. Like, if anything, I'd be scared off of Fields in Minnesota now.
Yeah, we don't even
the Bears
care
are just handing them to Minnesota
twice a year.
Yeah. I think you're right, though. I think it's a bridge QB, and then they draft somebody, and that'll be interesting if it's McCarthy, because people will see Sam Darnold versus J.J. McCarthy and go, how the hell does J.J. McCarthy not win the job? But you've been very outspoken that he's probably not a guy you want to throw in there week 1.
Just not right away. I really think that, and it doesn't have to be to this extreme, like Jordan Love showed some teams that you don't have to throw him out there right away.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't. Like, I don't think Green Bay ever anticipated him having to sit as long as he did. Aaron Rodgers going out and winning MVP. But I think that there is some power to letting him chill for a minute before you put him out there. And I think you draft a young kid like that had limited experience. Why would you want to ruin him? Why would you want to? You would just hope that the organization would take those things into consideration if you drafted a player like JJ. And ain't nothing wrong with that's why you bring in Darnold on a 1-year deal, right? He's a veteran. He's been a high draft pick. He's seen the highs, he's seen the lows, and he seems like the type of teammate that wouldn't trip if his number was pulled and it's time to insert the rookie. Like, he seems like that kind of guy. So I'd be in. I mean, the question still it remains, can he support Jefferson, Addison, and a healthy Hawkinson? And I'm just going to assume they're going to run the ball. I don't know, man. I don't know. I would say no.
Speaking of running backs, the people want to hear about this guy, and I think it's perfect time for Ray to fill in on what your thoughts are. Because I don't think I've really heard you go in depth on this player, Ray. You know who I'm talking about?
No.
Got mentioned in the chat about 10 times. Wasn't at the Senior Bowl, was a late withdrawal from the Senior Bowl. You got any Jaylen Wright takes?
Man. It's funny. I was going to go through my text thread with Jared Wackerly. Shout out to J Wack and Dynasty Nerds. That's my dog. But like 3 years ago, he and I were talking about him because we were drafting him in these C2C leagues, campus to Canton leagues that we play in. And we have been like, I know they're in the message thread from like 3-4 years ago, man. And yeah, I'm interested. I think he's here's the beauty in Jaylen Wright is dynasty managers, fantasy gamers are looking for a running back to cling on to. Like, regardless of as bad as the class is, people are looking for one to say that's RB1. He's got the size, this potential speed profile to be, everyone kind of knows what Corum is, and Jonathan Brooks probably would be there, but he's not doing anything because of the knee. And then you like Bucky, but you know that Bucky can't be RB1. There's nobody that's really, but he looks like the type of guy that if he tests well at the combine, at his size, people will be like, that's my sleeper. Like, everybody will say that, and then he'll end up getting steamed up. Like, that's what everybody will say. Yes, SEC, athletic, should test very well, physical runner, size is there. Yes, Jaylen Wright. I think he'll be a big riser. Everybody's going to call him a sleeper, but he's not. I guess he is now, but he won't be.
Marshawn Lloyd feel the same way? We could be talking about him in a month as potential RB1. Am I crazy?
Yeah, here's the thing, man. Like, I think so, man. He's not very big, Scott. Like, and I get that. Achane, but I don't think so. I don't think Lloyd is going to get that. I don't believe he's going to get the capital to be considered that. I'll just say that. I don't think he will. And I like Marshawn Lloyd. You know, I'm USC homer numero. I like Marshawn Lloyd a lot, but I don't think he's going to get steamed up to that degree. I don't.
See, that's interesting because you look at his size. I mean, he's the same size as guys that have gotten drafted.
I know. This is pure bias. This is probably like a 40% real take. Like, it's just because we just saw him. And I saw him, and I'm just understand what I'm telling you. I'm not comparing them as players, but I also was at the Senior Bowl and was standing and saw Brian Robinson and Najee Harris. And like, I'm looking at those guys, like even Tajay Spears to a degree. And I'm just looking at, I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, it's just my personal bias. I'm sorry.
I think the only thing I would say is that when you said he's not going to get the capital, I kind of just have to compartmentalize what does that actually mean? Because I'm sitting here thinking, all right.
I'm going to tell you what it means.
Go
ahead and finish.
We're starving for a running back to not just get, I don't even want to say get the capital. Get capital in a range where you're not going to completely shit on them. So let's call it 3rd round draft capital. Because I think there's a chance we don't even see a running back go in the first 2 rounds. So there's going to be a bunch of them that probably go in the 3rd and the 4th. So if they're in that range, the higher end of that, so let's call it 3rd round, why can't somebody like Marshawn Lloyd be the RB1? All you got to do is have the landing spot on top of that.
You know why? Because you said there's going to be a bunch of them in rounds 3 and 4, right? There are better. I'm just telling you, dude. It has nothing to do with the player's skill set. There are better, more known names than Marshawn Lloyd. And that is why he will not be the RB1. It doesn't matter how good he is or how prime that landing spot may look. If he's in the third, and Braylon Allen's in the third, and Bucky Irving's in the third, and Trey Benson's in the fourth, and Jonathan Brooks somehow, there are too many names that people like more than Marshawn Lloyd, and that it's as simple as that. And sometimes that's the name of the game in Dynasty is who do you have?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, you humbled me the other day. We were in voice chat, and you were like, there's going to be a point where I'm just going to draft Braylon Allen. I'm just drafting Braylon Allen because there's somebody that'll like him. And sometimes we have to just zoom out and say, you get to a point in rookie drafts where you don't know what running back to take. There's 9 of them that all have capital within 50 picks of each other.
Yes.
Now, some of them you can eliminate because they're a landing spot. That may or may not hurt them or help them. But let's say there's 6 where you go, all right, I could see a path for him. Sometimes the answer is just, who is that guy? Who are the other people in my league going to like?
Correct.
And it's probably Braylon Allen. It might be Blake Corum. Probably won't be this guy. Probably will not be Cody Schrader. Probably just won't be. So there you go. I mean, that's how I'm going to break ties, but I'm excited about this running back class. There's just a lot of intriguing names, and they're all going to be coming at very cheap costs.
That's it. It's 9:00 on the dot. It's Valentine's Day. We're back, man. We're back. Scott, it was good to see you again in person, my friend. I'm glad everybody got to hang out. I do want to acknowledge a couple of the super chats that hit the building. Well, we had one from Danny Too Good, and says, let's effing go, DD, the best out there. Appreciate you, Danny, for that. Appreciate everybody who jumped in the stream tonight. We'll be back next week, same time, same stream. Make sure you come hang out with me and Scott. We enjoyed this episode with y'all. Go to DestinationDevy.com. All the dope content creators over there. Check out the podcast feed. Scott shows. Trades and Five is on the podcast feed if you happen to miss it last night. And just stay locked in. We got some cool things that we're going to announce here very, very soon. Y'all don't want to miss it, man. We love y'all. We out. Peace.